I never meant for the letter to reach him. It was supposed to be my way out, a final whisper into the void, a way to close something I should have never opened. I wrote it in the dark, on the edge of a mattress that smelled like his cologne and smoke, with hands still shaking from what I'd seen that night. I wrote, "I can't love a man who kills for a living. I can't breathe around you anymore." I folded it, sealed it, and prayed he'd never see it. But he did, and when it came back, the paper was smeared with something that wasn't ink. Just one word across my handwriting, denied. That was 2 nights ago. Now I'm hiding in a cheap motel off the interstate, still half dressed from when I ran. My phone's off, the curtains are shut, and I can still feel him everywhere. The way he watched me the night I told him I was done. The stillness before the storm. I remember his voice. Calm, low, the kind of tone that made the air feel heavy. "You don't get to end this, sweetheart." Not like that. I thought he was bluffing. I thought all that control, that quiet power, was just an act. But nothing about Nico Moretti was an act. Not the way he looked at me like he owned my pulse, or the way his men stopped talking the second he entered a room. He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. His silence could break bones. I keep replaying that night in my head. The night everything snapped. We were at his penthouse, the one with the glass walls and the view of the river. I'd spent weeks pretending I could live in that world of sharp suits and whispered deals, pretending the blood on his cuffs didn't bother me. But when I saw him drag that man by the collar through his own hallway, I knew something in me had cracked. Nico didn't even look angry. Just efficient, controlled. Like he was fixing a problem, not ending a life. When it was over, he found me standing by the window, frozen. He just said, "You weren't supposed to see that." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My chest felt hollow, and he walked past me, poured himself a drink, as if we hadn't just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. That's when I decided to leave. I packed while he slept, the sound of his slow breathing behind me. My hands shook so hard I dropped my keys twice. When I looked at him one last time, something inside me still wanted to stay. That's what kills me even now. That twisted part of me that loved the man who terrified me. But I left. I mailed the letter from a gas station 2 towns over. I thought I was free. Until the knock. It was past midnight when it came. 3 slow taps. Deliberate. I didn't open the door. I just listened, breath caught in my throat. Then came his voice, quiet, steady, close. "You forgot something, baby." I froze. My heartbeat turned to noise. He shouldn't have been able to find me. I hadn't used my real name to check in. I hadn't told anyone where I was going. But that's the thing about men like him. They find what they want. Always. I heard the envelope slide under the door. The paper scraped the floor like a whisper. I stared at it for a full minute before picking it up. My handwriting, his mark. Denied. Written across it, thick and red. When I opened the door, he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I sat against the wall, knees to my chest, reading that single word over and over until it blurred. It wasn't a threat. It was a verdict. And somehow that scared me more, because Nico never needed to threaten. He meant things. By morning, I knew running wouldn't work. I'd seen what happened to people who tried to cross him, but still I couldn't go back. My pride was the only thing I had left, even if it was breaking me. The second knock came the next night. This time, when I looked through the peephole, he was standing there. Black shirt, top button undone, sleeves rolled up like he'd come straight from some meeting he shouldn't have survived. His eyes, dark, steady, met mine through the glass. He didn't look angry, just tired. "Open the door, Lily," I whispered. "Go away." His jaw tightened, but his tone didn't rise. "You know I won't." The silence stretched. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. "Please, Nico," I said, voice shaking. "Just let me go." He ran a hand through his hair, a rare crack in his armor. "You think I can do that? After everything?" "You don't love me," I whispered. Something flickered in his eyes. "You think that's what this is?" He stepped closer to the door, his shadow swallowing the light from the hallway. "You think I'd burn half the city looking for you because I don't love you?" I didn't answer. My breath hitched, and that was enough for him. "Open the door," he said again, quieter now, "or I'll take it off its hinges." The steel in his voice made my chest tighten. He wasn't bluffing. He never did. I turned the lock, but my hand shook so bad it clicked twice before it opened. He stepped inside like he still lived there, like the space obeyed him. His eyes scanned the room, then found me. "You've been crying," he said, and the softness in his voice broke something in me. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you," he said. "Not in this place. Not alone." I took a step back. "I'm not yours to protect anymore." He smiled, but it wasn't warmth. It was pain, hidden behind control. "You think love is something I can turn off because you wrote it down on paper?" I wanted to scream, to tell him I wasn't scared of him, that I hated what he made me feel. But the truth was, I didn't hate it. I hated myself for needing it, for needing him. He reached into his coat and pulled out the letter. "You want to end this," he said. "You do it to my face." "I did," I whispered. "Try again." I stared at him, tears burning behind my eyes. "I can't do this anymore, Nico. You're not the man I thought you were." He looked at me for a long time, like he was memorizing the words before they cut. Then he said, "And you're not the girl who flinched when I told her the truth." Something inside me cracked open. "You killed a man in front of me." "I kept him from hurting you," he said. "You think I wanted you to see that? You think I wanted you to look at me like this? I don't know what to think anymore." He moved closer, slow, deliberate. I should have stepped back, but my body wouldn't obey. "You don't have to think," he said quietly. "Just breathe." His hand reached for my face, and I caught his wrist before he touched me. "Don't," he froze, and for the first time I saw something raw in his eyes. Not anger, not pride, just hurt. "I never wanted to be this for you," he said, voice breaking at the edges. "But I can't let you go, Lily. You don't walk out of my life with a letter." "I'm not yours," I said again, but it sounded like a lie. He leaned in, close enough for his breath to brush my cheek. "You were mine the second you looked me in the eye and didn't look away." I wanted to deny it, to shove him away, to make him feel the fear I felt every time his name crossed someone's lips. But I couldn't. Because under the fear was something worse. Truth. When he finally pulled back, his voice dropped lower. "You'll come home tomorrow. Pack your things. I'll send someone." "I'm not going anywhere with you." He smiled again. That quiet, deadly kind of smile that promised the world and burned it down. "You already have." Then he left. No threats, no shouting, just the soft click of the door. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the letter still in my hand. My name on one side, his mark on the other. Blood red. Final. I didn't cry. Not that night. Not even when I realized he was right. That no matter how far I ran, I was still his. And maybe that's what terrified me most, because part of me didn't want to stop being his. The next morning, I woke up to silence that felt staged. Not peaceful, just waiting. The kind of quiet that knows what comes next. I hadn't slept much. Just drifted between memories and fear until sunlight leaked through the curtains. For a few minutes, I thought maybe he'd meant what he said. I'll send someone. Maybe I'd have time to think, to breathe, to decide if I was strong enough to disappear again. Then the phone on the nightstand buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. It rang again, then a third time. I picked up on the fourth. "Pack a bag," a man's voice said. "Mr. Moretti's waiting." I hung up. My hands trembled. 2 minutes later, tires screeched outside the motel. I didn't look. I just started packing, because defiance felt stupid now, not brave. I'd already seen what happened when people said no to him. By the time I stepped outside, 2 men in suits stood by a black car. They didn't speak. One opened the door and I slid in. The air inside smelled faintly of smoke and cologne, the same scent that haunted my pillow. He was waiting in the back seat. Black shirt again, sleeves rolled, watch glinting in the light. His eyes met mine in the reflection of the tinted glass. Calm. Too calm. "You didn't have to send your men," I said. He looked at me, expression unreadable. "You wouldn't have come otherwise." "Because I don't belong in your world." He didn't respond. Just turned his head, studying me like he was counting my heartbeats. "You look tired." "I haven't been sleeping. Because you miss me." I laughed under my breath. "Because I'm afraid of what you'll do next." He leaned back, resting his arm on the window. "Fear keeps you honest. And love?" His eyes flicked toward me. "Love keeps you alive. The car fell silent. I watched the streets blur outside, the city shifting from concrete to river roads, and with every turn, I knew we were heading toward his penthouse. I didn't ask why. I already knew. Nico didn't like unfinished business. When we arrived, the guard stepped aside without a word. The elevator ride up felt endless. My pulse matched the hum of the walls. I could feel him watching me. Not lust, not anger, just possession. He opened the door to the penthouse himself. Everything was the same. The glass walls, the skyline, the whiskey on the counter. But it felt colder now, stripped of illusion. "Sit," he said quietly. I didn't move. "What is this, Nico?" He poured 2 glasses, handed one to me. "A conversation. About what?" He studied the drink in his hand, then looked at me. "About how a letter almost cost me everything." "You still have everything," I said. "Your money, your power," he cut me off. "You think any of that means a damn thing without you in it?" His tone wasn't loud, but it hit like a blow. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "You're serious?" He set the glass down. "I don't play with words." I wanted to believe it was manipulation, that he was saying what he knew I wanted to hear. But the way his voice broke slightly, barely, made me hesitate. "You think loving you excuses what you've done?" I asked. "No," he said simply. "But it explains it. That's not love. That's control." He took a slow step forward. "If I wanted control, you'd never have left." Something in me flinched. He noticed. His jaw tightened. "Don't mistake my restraint for weakness," he said softly. "I let you go once because I thought you'd come back. You didn't. So now I'm here, making sure you understand. There's no leaving without me letting it happen." I felt anger spike through the fear. "You can't own people, Nico." He smiled faintly. "Then why do I feel like you already belong to me?" I swallowed hard, trying not to break under the weight of his gaze. "Because you built a cage around me and called it love." He went quiet for a long moment. Then softly, "If that's true, why do you still look at me like this?" I didn't answer. My silence told him everything. He moved closer, slow, careful, until he was inches away. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. His breath brushed my ear. "You can't, can you?" That's when I broke. "I hate you," I said, voice shaking. "I know," he said. "It means I still matter." The words hit harder than any threat. I turned away, but he caught my wrist, gentle, not forceful. His thumb traced the pulse under my skin. "You think this is a choice for me?" he said quietly. "You think I wanted to love someone who could destroy me just by leaving?" I stared at him. "You destroyed yourself the day you chose this life." He released my wrist, stepped back. "Maybe, but you're the only thing that makes it worth living." For the first time, I saw something fragile in him, like the armor had cracked just enough to show the man underneath. But before I could say anything, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, face hardening instantly. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. "Just walked to the window." "Get your things," he said. "We're leaving," my stomach tightened. "Why?" He turned, eyes darker now. "Because someone found out about you." The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did. "You mean, someone knows you were here. They think you're leverage." I felt the blood drain from my face. Leverage for what? For me, the room shifted. My fear turned to disbelief. "Nico, I can't—" "You don't have to do anything," he said. "You just have to trust me." "I don't trust you." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "You don't have to. Just stay alive." The elevator opened before I could reply. 2 of his men waited with weapons drawn, eyes scanning every corner. The air felt charged, dangerous. He took my hand, not roughly, but with purpose, and led me toward the elevator. His grip was steady, grounding, and I hated how much comfort it gave me. When the doors closed, he turned to me. "Whatever happens, you don't run." I nodded, though my throat felt tight. The ride down was silent except for the hum of the machinery and the pounding of my heart. When the doors opened again, we were in the underground garage. The moment we stepped out, gunfire shattered the air. I screamed, dropped low instinctively. Nico's hand shoved me behind a car, his body shielding mine. The echo of bullets filled the space, glass breaking somewhere above. "Stay down," he barked. His men fired back. Shouts, footsteps, chaos. Then, silence. He turned to me, breathing hard, eyes scanning my face. You okay? I nodded, though my voice was gone. He wiped blood from his arm. It wasn't his, and stood. They followed us, he said quietly. They knew we'd move. Who? Someone who thinks I'm weak now. Because of me? He looked at me jaw tight. Because they think you make me human. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Clean it up. No one leaves breathing. Then he hung up and grabbed my hand again. We're not safe here. We drove for an hour without speaking. The city lights fell away until there was only highway and dark forest. My mind spun with questions, but the only one that mattered pressed at my throat. Why didn't you let me go? He didn't look at me. Because you're the only part of me that isn't broken. The words hit like truth and lie at once. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to feel nothing. But all I felt was the weight of his hand still holding mine. The steadiness of it. The danger of what that steadiness cost. When he finally stopped the car, we were at a cabin by the river. Secluded. Quiet. Too quiet. This is where you'll stay, he said, until I fix this. And you? He hesitated. I'll finish what I started. I stepped closer, the anger and fear twisting into something unsteady. You mean the killing, the war, the life that's eating you alive? He met my eyes. If it keeps you safe, I'll burn everything else. Nico. He stepped forward, cupped my face, his touch trembling for the first time. Don't say my name like that, he whispered. I'll never walk away if you do. For a heartbeat, the world held still. His lips were inches away, the space between us burning with everything unsaid. Then he pulled back, eyes dark with something like surrender. You were right, he said. I don't know how to love you without destroying everything around me. He turned, walked out into the night. The sound of the car starting echoed against the trees. I stood in the doorway, shaking, the taste of his words still on my lips. I wanted to run after him. I wanted to stop him, but I couldn't. Because for the first time I understood. Love wasn't saving us anymore. It was killing us slowly, and somehow I still wanted him to come back. It's been 8 months since the night he left. 8 months since the sound of his car faded into the dark, and I stood in the doorway of that cabin, barefoot and shaking, holding the silence like it was something alive. I thought he'd come back in a week, then 2, then a month. He didn't. What came instead were rumors. Quiet, poisonous things that traveled faster than truth. That Nico Moretti had been killed in a shootout near the docks. That his empire was crumbling. That his men were turning on each other without him to hold them in line. I didn't go looking for him. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally understood what he meant when he said he had to finish what he started. It wasn't about vengeance or business. It was about freeing me from the world that had swallowed him whole. The cabin became my world after that. Days blurred into one another. Coffee gone cold. The river's quiet rhythm. The ache of waiting. I learned how to live with silence. I stopped checking my phone. I stopped hoping. Some mornings I even convinced myself I didn't miss him, that the hollow inside me was healing, that maybe love could survive without the man. But then the dreams would come. His voice, his hand on my face, the letter. Denied. I'd wake up gasping, half believing he was standing there in the dark again. He wasn't. The first real sign came in winter. A black SUV parked at the edge of the property. A man stepped out, left a small box on the porch, and drove away. No note, no words. Just the box. Inside was my letter. Creased, worn, but clean now. No blood, no mark. Just a new word scrawled across the back in his handwriting. Free. I didn't know what that meant. If he was alive. If he was saying goodbye. Or if free meant I'd never see him again. The next few weeks passed in a strange kind of limbo. I started working again. Small bookkeeping jobs I could do remotely. It felt normal, almost safe. But even as I tried to rebuild something that looked like a life, there were moments when I'd stop mid-sentence or mid-breath and feel him. That awareness that never really left. Then one evening in early spring, I heard footsteps on the gravel outside. I froze. The sound was unhurried, steady, familiar. I wanted to believe it was my mind playing tricks. But when I opened the door, he was there. Nico. He looked older, leaner. His black shirt was wrinkled. Sleeves rolled like always, but his eyes, those dark, relentless eyes, were different. Quieter somehow. For a second I couldn't move. Neither of us spoke. Then he said, voice low and hoarse, "You still leave the porch light on." I swallowed hard. I thought you were dead. He nodded once. So did I. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full. Of everything we'd never said, everything we'd broken trying to love each other. He took a step forward. I didn't back away this time. I didn't come to take you back, he said. You don't owe me anything. The words hit something deep in me. Then why are you here? His gaze flicked down, then back up. Because I had to see you breathing. I felt tears sting, but I didn't let them fall. You can't just walk in after all this time and, I know. He cut me off gently. But I need you to hear something before I disappear for good. I waited. He exhaled slowly, like the words hurt coming out. The night I left, I burned it all. Every deal, every tie, every man who thought they owned me. There's nothing left of that life now. Not one piece of it touches you. My chest tightened. And what's left of you? He gave a tired half smile. Just the part that remembers how to feel. Something in me broke then. Not from pain, just release. I stepped forward until I was close enough to smell the smoke still clinging to him. You could have sent a message, I whispered. I couldn't risk it. You let me think you were dead. He nodded. You were safer that way. I looked at him, really looked. The man standing in front of me wasn't the one I'd fallen in love with. He was quieter, raw, stripped of the armor that used to make him untouchable. I don't know what to say to you, I said finally. Then don't. His voice softened. Just tell me you're okay. I wanted to say yes, but lying to him felt wrong now. I'm getting there. He nodded again, almost like that was enough. Good. We stood there in silence, the night pressing close around us. Then I said the one thing I'd promised myself I wouldn't ask. What happens now? His eyes held mine. Now you live. You forget my name if you can. You find something better than what I ever gave you. I shook my head. You don't get to decide that anymore. A ghost of a smile tugged at his mouth. You sound like me? Maybe I did. Maybe part of him had always been buried in my voice, in the way I fought to survive him and loved him anyway. He turned to leave, but I caught his sleeve. Wait, he stopped, eyes on my hand. I never told you, I said, words trembling. When I wrote that letter, I didn't want to leave you. I just wanted to save the part of me you hadn't ruined yet. He looked at me for a long time, and then his hand covered mine. Warm, steady, human. You did, he said quietly. You saved both of us, and then he let go. He walked down the steps, the gravel crunching under his boots. I wanted to call out, to make him stay, but something in me knew this was the only way it could end. When he reached the edge of the drive, he turned back one last time. You were right that night, he said. You don't belong in my world, but for a while you made it feel like home. Then he was gone. I didn't cry this time. I just stood there until the wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of smoke and something familiar. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It just was. Weeks passed, then months. Seasons shifted again. The cabin became less a hiding place and more a life. I started planting a garden by the porch, painting the walls, fixing the broken things he never had time to fix. Every nail, every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I'd buried under his shadow. Some nights I'd sit by the river and talk to him like he could hear me. Not the man he was, the man he tried to be. I'd tell him I forgave him, even if forgiveness felt too simple for what we were. Because love like ours didn't end clean. It lingered in the cracks. It haunted quietly, but it didn't destroy anymore. 6 months after his visit, I got another letter. No return address, just my name in his handwriting. Inside was a single photograph of a house by the ocean, sunlight breaking through the windows. On the back, 2 words, it's yours. I stared at it for a long time, not because I wanted what he gave, but because I finally understood what he meant by free. It wasn't about leaving him, it was about becoming someone who could live after him. So I packed the few things that mattered, locked the cabin, and drove toward the coast. The drive was long, quiet, steady, somewhere between the mountains and the ocean. I realized I wasn't running anymore. When I reached the house, it was exactly like the photo. Simple, peaceful. The kind of place you build a life in, not hide from one. I stood in the doorway, sunlight spilling across the floor, and for the first time in years, I felt still. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear footsteps outside, a soft knock, 3 taps. My heart still stops for a second every time. But when I open the door, there's no one there, just the wind and the sea. I tell myself it's memory playing tricks, but part of me hopes it's him, alive, watching from a distance, making sure I kept my promise to live. Because somehow, despite everything, we did what neither of us thought possible. We loved, we survived, and we let each other go. I'm not the same woman who wrote that letter. I'm not the girl who thought she could fix a man made of fire. I'm something quieter now, stronger. And when I think of him, it isn't pain anymore. It's gratitude. He gave me a story that almost destroyed me, but it also rebuilt me. And when I whisper his name into the dark, I know he hears it, somewhere between the ashes and the ocean. Somehow, after everything, we found our way home. If this story reached somewhere quiet inside you, stay. There are more stories like this, raw, confessional, the kind that bruise before they heal. Subscribe. Listen. Let the next secret find you.